be joining us as soon as they wrap up. So, all right, item C, we'll Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Moving forward with item D is the approval of the agenda.
I will move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Drenkow. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section E is approval of the minutes. Approve the August 16th, 2021 regular meeting minutes and the August 23rd, 2021 study session minutes. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the August 16, 2021 regular meeting minutes and the August 23, 2021 study session minutes.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Beaufore. Council discussion, if any. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section F is our guest council person. The guest council person for September is Heidi Solheim. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. I think you're the guest of Ms. Meyers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
If you have an introduction, I'll let Heidi follow up with that.
Heidi is the interim CEO for the Waverly Municipal Hospital, and we appreciate her finding time in her busy schedule right now to join us.
Great. As Julie said, I'm Heidi Solheim. My husband and I have lived in Waverly for about 20 years, an additional 4 if you count our time at Wartburg. So we've enjoyed being a part of Waverly and look forward to continued prosperity in town.
Excellent. I'm sure this is old hat for you. You know the rules of engagement. Feel free to jump in, just don't have a vote. So welcome aboard. We'll move forward to Section G is a couple proclamations. The first one is National Rail Safety Week. I will read that proclamation. It's not too long. So, Proclamation of National Rail Safety Week. Whereas 1,889 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 678 personal injuries and were responsible for 201 fatalities in the United States during 2020. And whereas 1,088 trespassing incidents have occurred in the United States, resulting in 532 pedestrians being killed and another 556 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2020. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of fatalities and injuries. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety to enforce applicable laws in support of National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, I, Adam P. Hoffman, Mayor, and the City Council of the City of Waverly, Iowa, hereby attest our full support, proclaiming September 20th through the 26th, 2021 as National Rail Safety Week, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety education. Approved and proclaimed this 13th day of September 2021. Entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Meyers. Any council discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries on that proclamation. Our second proclamation, we do have a guest that joined us this evening to witness this. We'll call up in just a moment. The second one here is the Direct Support Professional Recognition Week. Whereas Direct Support Professionals, DSPs, are the primary providers of community-based long-term support services for tens of thousands of individuals with disabilities in Iowa, and whereas DSPs are valued for their work in building close, respectful, and trusted relationships with individuals to assist them with their most intimate needs, and whereas DPSs provide essential support to individuals with disabilities to stay connected to family, friends, coworkers, and the community, helping them to define and live a quality life. And whereas DPSs provide a broad range of individualized supports, including meal preparation, medication assistance, personal care, and life skills training, mobility, work, and life enrichment opportunities, and other daily tasks. And whereas DPSs support informed choices and person-centered practices that honor and respect the individuals with disabilities they serve. And whereas during the COVID-19 outbreak, DSPs have played an instrumental role in ensuring safety and maintaining dedicated support and care for those they serve. And whereas an adequate workforce of high-quality DSPs is necessary for the people of Iowa to meet obligations to people with disabilities and minimize more costly settings such as hospitals or institutions. And whereas DSPs are one of the fastest growing positions in America and demand for their skills is great, yet low wages and demographic trends are creating a growing shortage of DSPs, leading to increased turnover. And whereas public officials are key advocates in building awareness and addressing the issues facing this publicly funded workforce. Now, therefore, I, Adam P. Hoffman, as Mayor of the City of Waverly, and the City Council of the City of Waverly, do hereby proclaim September 12th through the 18th, 2021, as Direct Support Professional Recognition Week. Entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve proclamation.
Second.
Motion by Beaufore, second by Birgen. Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Ms. Golick, are you here? Yes, there you are. Jessica Golick is the Associate Director of the Larrabee Center here in Waverly. I'll let you speak while I come down and sign the proclamation and get that for you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Hoffman and City Council members, for taking the time to recognize and honor our direct support professionals in our community with this proclamation. The Larrabee Center has served individuals with disabilities and the elderly in our community for over 30 years and provide essential supports, aiding our clients to work and live quality lives. We are part of a network of disability providers who work together regularly to meet the needs of our vulnerable citizens. Our community is so very fortunate to be considered service-rich, with multiple agencies collaborating to meet the specific needs of individuals with a variety of disabilities in our community. The Larrabee Center, along with North Star Community Services and community-based services, work tirelessly to provide in-home community and employment supports to ensure persons with disabilities are included in the community and truly valued. Our DSPs support over 160,000 Iowans with a variety of disabilities and are often working in our communities without being noticed. Their work is essential and during COVID became a lifeline to so many in our community. DSPs step up and continue to ensure the individuals served had their needs met with added safety mitigation efforts. Thank you for recognizing their hard work and dedication to serving individuals with disabilities in our community.
Thank you, ma'am. This is for you, Angela, to take for your copy, the hard copy original. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Any additional comments by council after hearing from Ms. Golick? All right. We will move forward into Section H, the public hearing. This is the date, time, and place for a public hearing on Ordinance 1094, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Waverly for the rezoning of Parcel ID 0901403009. Located at 2203 East Breme Avenue and Parcel ID 90901426006 from C2 Commercial District and A1 Agriculture District to M2 Heavy Industrial District. Ms. Clerk, have you received any written or oral comments?
I have not, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any public comments from anybody that has joined us this evening? Seeing nobody approaching, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll move approval, second reading of Ordinance 1094, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the City of Waverly for the rezoning of Parcel ID 0901403009 located at 2203 East Breme Avenue and Parcel ID 0901426006 from C2 Commercial District and A1 Agricultural District to M2 Heavy Industrial District.
Second.
Motion by Schneider, second by Birgen. Council discussion, if any.
I just joined. This is the rezoning on East Breme.
The public hearing. Yep, section H, item 1. Were you prepared? I didn't want to move forward. Okay.
I'm aware of the
All right.
scenario. I just wanted to make sure that's where we were at.
Oh. Hearing no further comments, we'll go with the roll call vote. Carla, on the second one.
Yes.
Meyers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-0 with 1 absent, the second reading of Ordinance 1094 is approved. Section I is public comments for items not on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. Anybody have any public comments this evening? Evening, sir.
Evening, Council and Mayor. Dean Soash, I'm a resident of Northeast Waverly, but I'm here to talk about an item in Southeast Waverly. It's on the agenda later, but not in the same context that I wish to address.
Okay.
So I think we're in good shape. How many of you remember what August 30th was? What happened? Apparently nobody knows about the flood that happened that day.
Oh.
How many of you know what the situation was in Southeast Waverly as a result of the flood? Seventh Avenue was closed early in the morning from First Street to the east. 4th Street southeast, just past Southeast School, was closed shortly after 7:30 because one of the fellows that works for my son lives in the apartments down there, and his only way out was through the dip in 4th Street with a pickup truck, and it was closed shortly after that. The kids were bused into Southeast School. Parents had to gather at the corner of 4th Street Southeast and Crestwood Avenue and deposit their kids, accompany them to a bus so that they could go to school that day. The fellow that works for my son couldn't get back in from any direction at noon for lunch. 8th Street was closed about where the Cedar River Park joins private property. It was also closed between Crestwood and the Parkway. There was no traffic. I came back, I have a rental property down there. I came back to town about 3:30 that afternoon, and I thought I would go and see what was going on. They were still busing the kids out. This council needs to relook at whether emergency vehicles can get into that quadrant of Waverly or not. Everything a couple of years ago was all ready except signing contracts, in essence. This council turned it down. There was a young lady injured on 4th Street Southwest not too long ago. This council jumped all over it to ensure that hopefully it doesn't happen again. The life of someone living in Southeast between 7th Avenue and the river and 1st Street and the river, if they have a heart attack, is their life any less valued than a young person that got injured? I don't know. The inflatable dam has done wonders for upstream, from the dam upstream, the Cedar and the Dry Run project has helped that. But at the same time, it's increased the flow and the responsibility downstream. There was no cure, no help for that quadrant of town. So I'm suggesting that council take another look at that and see if, and I think previous councils talked about emergency vehicles. First comment that someone's going to make is, well, in a couple of years, Southeast School won't even be there. That's very true. It won't be. Timeline might not be 2 years, but it's in that vicinity. That does not mean, based on my previous knowledge of what happens in Waverly, and I've lived here for 65 years, as I tell people almost long enough to be a native, that building either will be repurposed and utilized, or it will be raised and housing will be built on that site. There's already 60 to 70 residences, including the apartments, in that corner of Waverly. And I really think you need to take a look at what can happen and the value of human life, whether it be male or female, whether it be a heart attack or a stroke or a severe accident, and see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Soash, for your comments. Any other public comments from anybody that's joined us?
Hello, I'm Phil Trimble, live at 1507 Knoll Ridge Drive. Recently, Leisure Services Commissioner Chair Joel Johnson submitted a letter to the editor entitled South River Park Myth and Mystery Clarified. In the past, I voiced my overall support for this project, however, I've questioned the overspending. However, after reading Mr. Johnson's letter to the editor, it's left me with more questions than answers. And I hopefully that we can clarify some of what Mr. Johnson said in his letter. First of all, Mr. Johnson stated that that inspections of the Exchange building revealed that it could be salvaged with minimal repairs, new shingles, roof boards, and a few pieces of glass. However, in a letter from the City Council liaison dated March 14th, 2021, I was informed that the Exchange building underwent extensive renovations. At the March 15th, 2021 City Council meeting, the Director of Leisure Services said that the Exchange building was completely gutted. Right here I have resolutions, pay orders, change orders, pay requests totaling $113,604.50 for the work that was done in the Exchange building. My question is, was it minimal repairs that need to be done, or did the building need to be gutted or extensively renovated? Also, Mr. Johnson notated that they found a small amount of asbestos. I've gone through every city council meeting between here and back to November 2017 when this project was approved. There has never been a pay request or anything for any type of asbestos mitigation, nor has there ever been a permit filed with the state. I have emailed them and asked them. They could not supply me with one because it does not exist. Also on the March 15th, 2021 meeting, Director of Leisure Services said that all the tree removal along the riverbank was done in-house instead of contracting that out. However, right here, I have bids, resolutions, pay requests totaling $46,400 for tree removal along the riverbank. Were these trees removed in-house, or did we pay to have them done? Out of that $46,400, $28,500 was notated right here in the bid, tree removal of riverbank from bridge to bike trail. Mr. Johnson also said that the shelter was, it said, and I'll quote, "It's been said that the shelter was built for the farmer's market. This is simply not true." I'll refer back to the email from the City Council liaison where it says, and this is directed to me, the third phase consists of building a shelter that would primarily be used for the farmer's market. So I think we need to clarify what is the purpose for this shelter. Over the past couple months, I based all of my comments on public statements and communications directly with me. or Mr. Johnson's editorial made me realize that we've had 3 different narratives from 3 different people that should know this project better than anybody. I'm not saying that anybody intentionally misled us or anybody lied. I'm simply saying that I believe that we should clarify what is happening, because all 3 people that have commented on this publicly now have given us all a different narrative and a different story. Was Mr. Johnson's letter to the editor misleading? Was the city council liaison's email to me misleading? Statements by the director misleading? I don't know, and that really doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that we rely on these folks to tell us what has happened. And with 3 different people giving us 3 contradictory statements brought to light, I feel like it is now time for the city responsibility and those who have made the statements to clarify. Again, saying nothing is not clarifying. Saying nothing quickly changes into purposely misleading. We've got enough of that in our federal government. We don't need it here in Waverly. I would ask you to make both public statements at a city council meeting and clarify in the newspaper for those who read the article to make sure the people of Waverly know exactly what is happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trimble. Any other public comments for anybody else that's joined us this evening? Seeing nobody approaching, we'll move on to Section J, the consent calendar. Following items will be acted upon by voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately. Item number 1 is a pay request from WHKS and Company for the SRF sponsored project for the amount of $4,531.84. Item 2 is a pay request from WHKS and Company for the WPC Facility Improvements 2020 for the amount of $30,555.69. Item 3 is a pay request from WHKS and Company for the 3rd Street Southeast Bridge removal for the amount of $5,004.75. Item 4 is a pay request from Farnsworth Group for the Public Services Center North Edition 2021 for the amount of $3,681.27. Item 5 is a pay request from Schneider and Associates for the Traffic Study 2020 for the amount of $9,214. Item 6 is a pay request from Schneider and Associates for the Cedar Lane reconstruction for the amount of $5,686.11. Item 7 is a pay request from Hall & Hall Engineers Incorporated for the Youth Ball Fields 2019 Cedar River Park for the amount of $6,688.60. Item 8 is a pay request from Cardinal Construction Incorporated for the Cedar River Park Phase 2 for the amount of $858,833.29. Item 9 is a pay request from Cardinal Construction Incorporated for the South Riverside Park and Shelter 2020 for the amount of $40,665.78. Item 10 is a Class C liquor license for the Other Place 2. Item 11 is the outdoor service privilege for El Sol Mexican Restaurant. And item 12 is a Class B beer permit for Tea Up. Entertain a motion to approve.
I will move approval of the consent calendar as read by the mayor.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Drenkow. Council discussion, if any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section K, under regular business, item number 1 is Resolution 21-133, a resolution approving an application to list Wartburg College Historic District on the National Register of Historic Places. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of Resolution 21-133, approving an application to list Wartburg College Historic District on the National Register of Historic Places.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Meyers. Council discussion.
I'd like to point out that Waverly already has 4 historic districts, and this would be our 5th. So, and I think that the Historic Preservation Commission is very much in support of this resolution.
Could I ask one question just for clarification? I think if I was reading this correctly, it basically encompasses campus. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's all of campus or just part of campus. It's kind of the historic buildings among campus, yes.
But it's confined to that?
Yes.
Okay. The map on page, I think it's 11, I was a little bit confused by the shading there, but I appreciate the clarification.
Thing is that there's a heavy line that kind of encompasses most of the older buildings on campus. I think that heavy black line is the
Yeah, that's the historic
area.
district, yes.
Thank
And
you.
I was confused too, because I saw all the brown areas, and I thought, well, most of those are already in historic districts. But I think those were to designate areas that are already in historic districts. Is that correct, Brian?
I believe so.
Thank you.
So looking at that, just to double down on that, I guess, like the W isn't included in that, on that sidearm there.
And at one point, they did say like X number of buildings.
Right. Yep. Anything else?
Yeah, I should also point out that that map is what, a 1972 map, so not all the roads are on there, so makes it even harder to figure out what it is there.
Had a lot of houses infill there too. All right. Hearing no more discussion, roll call Carla.
Meyers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Vote is 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-133 is approved. Item 2, Resolution 21-134, a resolution establishing fair market value by appraisal for certain property interests to be acquired by condemnation for the Cedar Lane Culvert Replacements Project. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 21-134, establishing fair market value by appraisal for certain property interests to be acquired by condemnation for the Cedar Lane Culvert Replacements Project.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
Some of council was emailed on this issue, right? Regarding just some concern about potential for back taxes.
Did I read that correctly, that it was clearly established that there would not be back taxes?
So what happens is that part of the land is in the Forest Reserve program, and that's monitored by the assessor as well as the state forestry, however they deal with that. But it becomes a credit against the taxes, and you don't have to pay taxes on those properties. So they do watch and make sure somebody doesn't clear cut it, and then it has to go back on their rolls. And it can be, they can, if you do that without letting them know, without taking it out, then they can basically make you pay back taxes. The project as it's proposed was really to take very few trees out of that area. And we weren't sure how, I mean, I don't think anybody can actually give them a promise that they won't have back taxes to be paid. But if they're only taking a few trees out and it's already been in the program for more than 10 years, there's really no way that they're going to go back after that, especially based on the fact that we're doing a road project and we're just taking a few trees from the side of the property. So that was the issue. It's really not up to the city to attest to that. It was something that could be found out by the property owner by basically asking the questions that could be asked. And I think it's the appraiser that came up with that question for the county, and the county did say they didn't see any problem with having any back taxes owed on this property based on what we were proposing to do. And I'll just say that the appraisal is a required process during the eminent domain process. We will be, the application that will be signed by the chief judge will be filed, and then we'll proceed with a compensation hearing that will happen. It's actually administered by the sheriff's department, and they do that. I think it's scheduled for October 27th. We don't have the final word yet, but I think it's going to be on October 27th. All those notices are going to be going out in the next few weeks as we go through this process, because we couldn't reach an agreement with the landowner. We will continue to make proposals and try to negotiate a resolution until the time that we actually have a compensation hearing. We've done it before where we've made a deal fairly close to that compensation hearing. We'd rather do that than do all the work that we have to do this kind of a process. We hired an appraiser from Blackhawk County. The appraiser came back with an appraisal that I didn't know it till I opened it up and looked at it. Had no discussions with the appraiser about what they were going to find when they did the appraisal. So that has been sent out to the property owner and the lien holders, and we'll just keep moving forward with the process. It's a fairly complicated process that requires an application to be signed by the chief judge. We then move forward with notices. There's notices to the property owner again. There's published notices. There's a lot of documentation to do this process, and we will continue to do that so that we can complete the project on Cedar Lane and replace that culvert.
So am I understanding correctly that the question that was emailed late this afternoon, that's something that there is time between now and when things will really happen, that question can be clearly answered for the homeowner? Or we can attempt to find out?
What you're asking a public official to do is to say, this won't violate that, but they don't know what's going to happen when it actually is done. Based on the representation made by the engineers, there's only a few trees that will have to be taken out, and mostly the non-valuable trees. So you're not going to reach anything that will take them out of compliance with what we're proposing to do as a project. But I don't think they're going to give a letter that says we're not going to do anything, because I don't think they would be able to do that based on just the promise of what's going to happen. They really react to things that do happen, and they did give an opinion to that appraiser that they didn't think there would be any issues in this situation.
Thank you.
And the resident also had some timing issues, I think, where it looks like it may put some expense onto the resident. James, I don't know if did you get a copy of this? I can forward this.
I've not seen anything on it.
I think we can probably leave this off of the meeting portion here, but if James could look at this, I think this could get taken care of outside of this. So, but I see no reason to move along on that then. So I'll forward it to you.
Any further comments? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-134 is approved. Item number 3 is Resolution 21-135, a resolution approving Wartburg College's cable access channel operations and production agreement. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 21-135, approving Wartburg College's cable access channel operations and production agreement commencing September 1, 2021 and ending on August 31, 2024 for the anticipated expenditure of $27,000 per year.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Kangas. Council discussion or comments?
I don't think it mentioned it here in the memorandum, but this was approved unanimously by the Cable Commission.
I agree that having this as part of our transparency, it's important to be able to watch in another media form. Everybody's going to streaming services, or a lot of people are, where they don't have the public access channel per se, but being able to go back to a city council meeting and review what's happened and watching it at your leisure. But even watching it live, it's no fallacy that being able to see it live is part of transparency, especially through COVID and that kind of thing. People don't have the ability to get on a Zoom meeting and watch, or television. I mean, you can watch it anywhere in the country or the world for that matter. So I think it is a vital part of our transparency in government here. So hearing no other comments, roll call, Carla.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
A vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-135 is approved. Item 4, Resolution 21-136, a resolution approving the Memorandum of Understanding with Intercog for grant writing services related to the application for Federal Recreational Trails FRT program funds for replacement of the Ivanhoe Rail Trail Bridge on the Waverly Rail Trail segment of the Rolling Prairie Trail. Entertain a motion.
I move approval of Resolution 21-136, approving the Memorandum of Understanding with Intercog for grant writing services related to the application for Federal Recreational Trails Program funds for replacement of the Ivanhoe Rail Trail Bridge on the Waverly Rail Trail segment of the Rolling Prairie Trail in the amount of 1.5% of the funds awarded to a maximum of $2,000 to be paid by the city from local funds if FRT funds are awarded.
Second.
Motion by Meyers, second by Birgen. Council discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Carla.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Meyers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
The vote is 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-136 is approved. Item number 5 is Resolution 21-137, a resolution approving the Federal Recreational Trails FRT project application and endorsing the application for the FRT program funds for replacement of the Ivanhoe Rail Trail Bridge on the Waverly Rail Trail segment of the Rolling Prairie Trail.
I will move approval of Resolution 21-137, approving the Federal Recreational Trails FRT project application and endorsing the application for FRT program funds for replacement of the Ivanhoe Rail Trail Bridge on the Waverly Rail Trail segment of the Rolling Prairie Trail for the cost of $82,100, which is 20% of the total project cost.
Second.
Motion by Birgen, second by Kangas. Council discussion, if any.
As I understand it from the application, that we are actually committing ourselves then, if we receive this grant, to go ahead with the reconstruction of the bridge. Am I reading that incorrectly?
Well, as with any grant application, if we are fortunate enough to be eligible for funding, there would be an actual award document that comes back to the council for formal approval. A few months ago, you may remember that we applied for special COVID relief funding to do 2 bridges because there was a minimum project size and a maximum project size. So this would have been too small of a project, so we did submitted 2 bridges. With the federal, this is just the normal annual federal recreational trails funding. Iowa's allocation is a smaller dollar amount, and so we felt to be successful, we needed to downsize the project to this one bridge. We were so close to getting it. I think there was like 50 plus applications for that COVID funding. I believe they awarded 6 projects, and we were number 8. So we were very, very close. We were so close. So we feel pretty confident being in a position to be able to flip it around and in a very short time frame being able to submit this project. We're very hopeful that this one will be successful. And as you can see by the picture of the bridge location, this is really kind of a choke point for the county road system and the farmers, not really being able to take large farm equipment from one side of the rail trail to the other. This is a bridge that is probably at the top of our list in need of replacement. It would be a clear span bridge, 120 feet clear span, which would give the county ample opportunities and options for further improving the road for support of the rural population.
And I would be in favor of going ahead with the project. I didn't want to imply that I did not think that this is a project that we would not be going forward with if we get this grant. But I also have a question. with the city's source of funds, and it's just, I'm not sure that I understand the abbreviation here. It's CIP fiscal year 2022-23. What's the CIP? City improvement projects or?
Capital improvement programs. Right.
So you are committing $91,000 of the next year's budget for this project if we are awarded?
All right.
I mean, I
I
suspect.
got two-thirds of the acronym correct.
I would assume it would be similar to the situation over here on 4th Street Northwest, where we had some federal grants, but in the end, we had to approve spending that money lest we lose the entire federal grant. So we will have the ability to approve it, but kind of it'll be a question of spend what, $90,000 or lose $300,000.
Will we know if we've received this grant by the time we put together our budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that the Iowa DOT Commission will, the application deadline's October 1st. Usually by December, they're announcing the awards. Typically about 3 months past the deadline date is when they make announcements. So we may have look at incurring some design work in this current year's budget, but then the construction, this is a project that we think is actually a good off-season project, and much of the work may be able to take place in late fall of 22, going into the early spring of 23 to minimize the impact on, I guess, the normal summer recreation season.
And I'd like to point out that this is something that we were planning on doing sometime in the next 6 or 7 years. So it's not a question of can we avoid this expense altogether, or is this, some sort of vanity project. This is something that's going to happen in the next 7 years. Here's a way to save a lot of money when we do it.
I would note that it definitely is a bridge that looks like it could use replacements.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have to admit, I've been under that bridge looking for geocaches, and there's places you don't want to pull.
Do you have your hard hat on?
Garrett's over there cringing.
Looks like some scenes from some old Western movies with the trains that go over it.
With that, roll call vote, Carla.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Meyers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
A vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-137 is approved. Item 6 is Resolution 21-138, a resolution approving change order number 7, accepting the 4th Street Southwest, Iowa 116, and 10th Street Southwest Improvements 2020 project as complete, and approving pay estimate number 13 as the final pay request. Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of Resolution 21-138, approving change order number 7 in the amount of a $12,114 increase, accepting the 4th Street Southwest IA 116 and 10th Street Southwest Improvements 2020 project as complete, and approving pay estimate number 13 in the amount of $42,114 as the final pay request to Wicks Construction, Inc. of Decorah, Iowa.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Birgen. Council discussion.
I like the phrase final pay request.
With that, roll call vote, Carla.
Schneider.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Vote of 6-0 with one absent. Resolution 21-138 is approved. Item 7 is discussion of the agreement between the City of Waverly and Clayton Flagg. I don't know who wants to kick this off or not. Heather brought it forward originally.
I did. It sounds like there was a lot of discussion and was a request for some assistance and a lot of maybe some confusion, I guess. Mr. Flagg and Ms. Flagg are here today, so I was hoping that maybe they could have a moment to to get up and speak.
Invite you up to.
Okay, I'm Clay Flagg. This is my wife, Sarah. We live at 320 10th Street Northeast in Waverly. On August 9th, I contacted the mayor about an issue with our easement drive washing out again. The mayor and I discussed the previous conversations that I've had with the city about trying to get help from them, since they use the easement a fair amount also. The mayor recommended I contact each city council member and discuss the issue so they could come and see the easement and what happens to it. At that time, he gave me contact information on all the council members. I called all of them that day. That was August 9th. I left a message with each member with my contact information, except for Council Member Drenkow. He actually answered the phone. They all returned my call in a timely manner, except for Ward 2 rep. Since then, I have tried to contact her 3 more times, leaving a message with my contact information. I then contacted the mayor again and was unable to reach Ward 2 rep. I'm trying to get a hold of my representative from my ward. In 2014, I purchased this property. At that time, I met with Mike Cherry along with my father, my realtor, and I about the use and expectations of the easement, which is the city's access to the northeast water tower and storage at the base of the water tower. The city agreed to shared upkeep of the gravel driveway easement. Over the first few years, the city brought in a contractor to mow the banks of the easement. But due to the contractor doing substandard work, I eventually chose to mow this area myself, asking for no monetary compensation from the city for that, likely saving them a fair amount of money over the years. All that we were asking for is for the city to treat this easement as a low priority access drive, road, such as an alleyway. That's what we were told it was going to be when I bought it. Since 2016, we've put rock down 3 times. I've also graded it 4 to 5 times. It needs it again right now. The city has not added gravel or graded this easement at all in the last 7 years. Also, due to no maintenance being done on the tower property, it causes a large amount of washout down the driveway with any rainfall. You should also be aware that when High Point 2 addition came through, the city acquired a 20-foot by 155-foot piece of property on the southeast side of the water tower, which could be used instead of our driveway. They put money on putting in a 10-foot by 155-foot cement sidewalk drive, cement sidewalk / drive, plus another 10 by 10 foot length of sidewalk onto a dead zone empty lot for no apparent issue, or usage, I should say. If they can afford to do that, they could have poured the same size concrete on the easement, which would have gotten them most of the distance to the water tower property, which they use a fair amount. It would have helped them. Yet they refuse to help maintain the easement. In fact, they have never removed snow from the easement. We are the only ones that remove snowfall. Last year, we had an 8 to 10 inch snowfall while we were out of town. They drove the loader up the easement with the bucket up, compacting the driveway. They then cleared the water tower property lifted the bucket, and drove back down in different tracks, causing our driveway to be a sheet of ice for several weeks until the weather warmed up. If this is what the city calls low maintenance, then I believe every alleyway in town needs to be treated the same as our low maintenance drive. Thanks for listening to our concerns. Hopefully this issue can be resolved rapidly.
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Flagg, I'd like to publicly apologize profusely that you felt I wasn't responding to you. I honestly have never, ever had a voicemail from you. So if that, I'm guessing that could very well be a technology issue.
Yeah.
I have talked with multiple people about this, and the phone number I have is the phone number the city has.
Okay.
Can you step up to the microphone if you're going to talk?
I do apologize. I honestly don't have any voicemails, but I would love to talk to you later and make sure that I
The number
am
that I
hearing you.
used, and I did leave messages each time, was the number I received from our mayor.
And I'm not arguing that. I'm saying I really do want to hear from you, and I would like to talk to you after.
So if we left a message on that number?
Are you going to respond if we leave it another message?
I want to make sure you have the right number.
I think we can start
4 times.
Yeah, I think Ms. Myers will get that sorted out with
Yeah,
you two.
absolutely. I want to hear from you.
After the meeting would be just fine if that works for you. Yep.
Absolutely.
I did too also call the number that's on the city website to talk to you, and I should have maybe face-to-face talked to you about this as well, but I did call and leave a message as well on the voicemail or the telephone number that you
that's on the website.
That's on the website, and I got automated, who is this calling, and left a message and no response. So
I definitely need to check
We
that
may need
number.
to check that number.
Yeah, I need to check that number because this is also my business phone, so I'm never without it, and I always check my messages. So I apologize to anybody that's left a message. I will follow up on it.
I guess I've just got one question on this. Is this property owned by Clay and the city has a easement on it, or is this property that's owned by the city and he has an access easement on it?
I believe it's owned by the Flags. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And do we have an easement?
And you haven't.
Because there was an easement across an agricultural parcel that was used for years by the city to get to the water tower and back.
Okay.
And it was just undeveloped, and so they raised the issue of wanting to buy that property and put a house on it back in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I recall being involved in those discussions and the development agreement and those kinds of things, so.
So what is it that, I think what he's asking is the courtesy of, it sounds like he does all the snow removal to that area. That's fine. He's okay with that. I think you're just kind of asking, hey, can you help with some of this regraveling? It washes away frequently. And that was my understanding of a simple request of just putting some additional gravel down, and so that specifically your wife with a smaller car can get even up the driveway. I drove up the driveway. It was.
You need to come up to the microphone, please.
Last year when they packed the snow down, I couldn't even get up the driveway. I had to try to get around the block and get going as fast as I could to get up the driveway, and I couldn't get up the driveway. So it was, and we were out of town, so there was no way we could plow the driveway because we do it ourselves.
Normally, we would clear that driveway
Right,
early
'cause I
so
have to
that she
be
can get to work. I'm out
at
there
5 in the
clearing.
morning.
That doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me at all. But I understand low maintenance means when you have time, you get to something, low priority. But when they have time to drive through 10 inches of snow, shovel everything out with the loader up top, and then raise a bucket and drive back down again in different tracks, if this is what's considered low priority, I guess it's pretty darn low. I mean, I've never asked for anything for snow removal. That doesn't bother me at all. I mow that yard. I said I'd do that way back then. I'd take care of that. That was the city's to do. That's not a problem to me. I want it, so that it blends in with the rest. But when it comes to just asking for a little bit of help on gravel and grading it, when they have access to their trucks that can haul gravel, and I guess I don't have a dump truck, so I can't.
And they had to have maintained it before.
It was maintained before as a low priority.
It was there when we were...
It's kind of ridiculous that I keep that grate for them too if they can't help out a little with their share of using that. Our vehicles are light. They bring big trucks of it sometimes. There's a lot of difference between, a pickup truck or a Jeep, Compass, or
an end loader,
or a lift truck, or when they do the tower work, they bring the semis up it.
Okay.
That's all we're asking for is a little help from the city on that. Make it fair for everything. I know they go into alleyways, which are low priority, and if they are bad with potholes, they do fill gravel potholes in those.
All right.
I know over time when they get the chance, they do clear snow, and that's the only reason that I get upset with the snowfall one, because they had plenty of time.
If you're driving up it.
If they can get up there to clear the upper part, it tells me they had time to get there to do something. So how hard is it to leave the bucket down, drive up it, turn around, drop the bucket, drive back down? That's pretty, to me, just looks like somebody's just holding something.
Okay. Any council members have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have a number of comments here. It seems to me that this is a prime example of why you have to be very, very careful when you're having some kind of joint use property. When you're having two individuals, or in this case, a city and an individual that are both using the access to that property, and they're using it for different reasons. The Flags are using it to reach their house with their car and smaller equipment. The city is using it with larger equipment to reach the water tower. My experience has been that when you have a situation like that, the best thing to do is have a very explicit agreement on who uses it, who's responsible for maintenance, who's responsible for what. All we have here is one sentence that basically says, well, the city's not responsible for anything other than basic low priority access maintenance. I understand that the city probably doesn't have a legal obligation to do anything here, but I think that this kind of fits into the category of good neighbor policy. If we want people to be good neighbors, I think the city needs to be good neighbors. We have a unique situation here where we are able to fit within the ambiguities of this one sentence and say, hey, we can maybe go beyond what is the absolute minimum required here because of this unique situation that they have with the property. And I don't know if any of you have gone up there and looked at it, but it is rutted. I mean, it's bad. And I don't even know if a dump load of rock will help all that much, if it'll wash out right away again. I don't know. I think that, I would have much rather have seen a much better agreement on the joint use of that road than what we have. And I know that it's not really the city's responsibility to do maintenance on it, and I don't think the city needs to do a lot of maintenance on it, but I think maybe we need to do more than just the minimum because it is a joint use property. And we do use it, and we do damage to it, and I think we need to make sure that the Flags are able to use that road, alleyway, driveway, whatever, at least to a minimum degree without causing them undue hardship or undue damage to their vehicles. That's my opinion.
I agree with that 100%, that we need to, the good neighbor policy, we need to do something. It's, there's been, you probably have dumped several. I think you talked about.
I've done 3 loads.
3 loads
onto
already.
that, which a private party buying a load of rock is not cheap. And I can move rock around at times, but right now, the side-by-side we have, I do not have a blade for.
Because that's what we do, we push it.
When I have to, I get the side-by-side out, I put the blade on. I'll go down to the bottom and just start pushing back up to get rock back in the ruts. But right now, this year, I just don't have one to use right now. So when it comes around again, hopefully, we have a blade on the side-by-side and I can move stuff around again, but there's just no way of doing it without hiring somebody to come in and do it again now. And after doing it 5 times,
And they do use it a fair amount because I'm off during the week, I'm in nursing, and they're up there quite a bit every day. So
I mean, it's
not like,
something.
sometimes I think they may use it more than we do. So,
Is there any ability to access the property from the east, as they
That
suggested?
sidewalk that they put in is the same.
There's no path or road or anything, a sidewalk, but that's...
So the trail that was put in was actually put in by the developer as a requirement of their subdivision. It's designed for, it's not designed for equipment.
Right,
It's designed to be a trail.
There isn't a driveway or
It's a
anything
sidewalk
that comes
trail.
in from the east, it's just the sidewalk.
And then you have a large section that doesn't even get to the front where the storage is and where the access to the tower is.
Sidewalk trail to what? Empty lot. I mean, it's an empty lot.
Are there,
Has there ever been plans of something being put up there?
Yes, there's discussion of the neighborhood park.
That's good that the people know.
I agree with Mr. Drenkow and Ms. Beaufore. I think that it seems, our understanding, at least from what we can read here, is that it is vague. And that's causing a big problem. I feel like if we could better define it and come to an agreement of what works for you guys to do and what is acceptable and reasonable for the city to be responsible for, and have that well-defined, that would alleviate a lot of issues. Now, obviously, we have to think about precedent. And, whatever we do in this case has to be able to transfer to possible future cases as well, and certainly we need to consider that. But it seems to me like it's something that's festered to a point where all parties are frustrated, and then we all get into an unhealthy dialogue about it. And so if we could define what's acceptable to everybody and agree on that. I don't know how that works from a legal city standpoint, but
Like I say, it's just a little bit of help on the gravel because that's the expensive part, For me to hire a dump truck to come in and someone to come in and straighten out what they dump, I'm looking at $700. It's a lot less when you have the equipment. As for the snow removal, I've never complained about snow removal other than when they lifted the bucket
if
and
they're going to drive up and
drove
just
down.
scrape it off instead of
If
compact
they're going to
it
clear
down.
above, it tells me they just don't want to help, is what it tells me. If they're going to be willing to drive all the way up and get onto their property and take the bucket and scrape it all out of there and pile it all off to the sides, but then pick the bucket back up and drive out in separate tracks, it just
so I
makes
guess
you think
I would
something
ask
completely
city
different.
staff, because I don't know about the rest of us here on the council. How does this work? Is this something where a dialogue with the city staff would be productive?
Well, I'll kind of respond to initially when we prepared this agreement and we were dealing with it, we made it very clear that they were able to buy this property and change it to the zoning because we allowed it, because it was an ag property before. And if I recall having a lot of conversations with Clay at the time, the explanation was this was going to be their drive. It's their drive to maintain and use for their house.
But if you read the paperwork, it does say it will be maintained by the city as low maintenance.
Which is...
And we can maintain it higher than that. Low maintenance is something that gets touched. But since 2014 has never been touched, that's not low maintenance. That's just
no maintenance.
That's no maintenance, not low maintenance.
Yeah, I guess I would want to know what the definition is of a low priority or a low maintenance.
They wouldn't probably have to do anything to run the equipment that they take up and back. They don't go up there that often in the winter, and they can go up there with it.
Well, but when they're driving a small car and we have big tractors going up, obviously you can drive over a whole lot of things, but the courtesy of it, like Rod mentioned, is, you know what, hey, he's asking for help one time, maybe every 4 years or something like that to, do this. It's just a neighborly thing to do.
Well, and that's kind of where I was getting. I mean, they mentioned alleys or things like that. Is that what's considered a low priority or low maintenance? Or do we have other areas that would be comparable to see how we take care of those to compare with how we take care of
like how many other residents
low priority
do we have in a similar situation where we share things with other residents? Do we share access with, is this completely 100% unique?
It's pretty unique. It was pretty unique when it happened, and actually we advocated for it, and I did because I thought we can put a house or two in a property that is not being used. But I remember the discussions, and the discussion was, this is going to be your road, and you have to maintain it. We don't need to maintain it as much as you do, because we're taking different equipment up at different times. And whether we should have been doing something here and there, I'm just saying what the intent was at the time we did this, was that it was going to be his road, their road.
But when you're saying that it's his responsibility to maintain it, I think it's his responsibility to maintain it sufficient that his type of vehicle can use it. The problem is that you're putting these large industrial trucks up and down this road and tearing it up. The reason that you're not using the eastern access is because that sidewalk is not made for industrial usage, any more than his driveway is made for industrial usage. The problem is that because we have this easement, we somehow feel like the city has carte blanche to go through and use this regardless of the wear and tear on the road. I agree that there's very little in the agreement telling us what's going on, and for the city's purpose, it's maintained enough. This could be 2 feet of mud and we'd still be able to get our vehicles up and down it. But I think Rod said it very well when we're talking about the good neighbor policy. I don't think we are being good neighbors in the wear and tear that we're putting on this road, even though we as the city don't have to do any improvement so that we can use it. Every time we're using it, we are incurring excessive wear and tear on their road. So if they were the only ones using it, they'd have an easy time maintaining it. But the fact that we have these large vehicles going up and down and tearing it up, I think, is what kind of makes this a complicated situation. So if somehow there was a limit as to the size of vehicles going up and down that road so that we weren't tearing it up any more than they were, then I think that the agreement as it's written would make sense. But I think we just have some very big equipment going up and down this road that we're putting a lot of pressure on them, expecting them to maintain it for us.
I'm going to interject for just a moment. Mr. Mistflake, if you want to have a seat at this point in time, I don't want you to stand there all night. I think we're pretty much at the point now of just having a discussion. I don't know, I won't speak on behalf of the council as if we're going to make any type of decision. Obviously, it's discussion only here on what an outcome could be here, but I just wanted you guys to be comfortable. So go ahead and proceed.
Yeah, I guess I was getting to the good neighbor part with what is our policy for, as it's described as a low priority, how was it phrased here?
Low priority access.
Low
right.
priority access, do we have other roads or other areas that are considered low priority access? And what is our level of maintenance that we provide on those, so that we have the precedence of what is it that we do on other places? Is this substantially different? And then, if it is substantially different, so why? But if not, what can we do to kind of become the good neighbor, interject that good neighbor element to it a little bit? Because yes, it reads that it's low priority, but that doesn't really lay out what low priority access means.
When I read that, I tried to quantify it against like our snow removal, tier setting of high priority, down to low priority where we finish up with alleys or, that kind of thing. It doesn't really even seem to fit that type of schedule.
My best comparison is you've got gravel roads out there, and then you have Class B no maintenance roads, and I think that's kind of the equivalent that how it's being interpreted.
In the county.
Like out in the county, there are, like no maintenance roads or Class B roads that, they don't put down gravel, and I think that's how the city is interpreting the low priority access drive to me.
Yeah, my thought was, we got that little spur that we're finishing right now out at Prairie Links that was gravel. And I'm sure that we did snow removal on that, and we filled, holes on that. When
It's a city street.
Right, exactly.
It's not
I understand.
a joint
But we're
driveway.
talking about gravel,
So if I could,
it's
you have
not
an ordinance in front of you, staff has followed that ordinance. We get yelled at when we don't follow the ordinance. We get yelled at when we follow the ordinance at times. So we're in the middle of this. You as a council want to change it, by all means change it. Nobody here is arguing that you should or shouldn't. We're not pitching this as if it's state saying we brought it forward for discussion, but we can belabor it all night. If you want to change Ordinance 983, that was done 7 years ago unanimously, we have followed it to that letter, then change it. Take your 3 readings and simply change it.
Well, but I think that it's not just a matter of changing it. We need to know what it says. I mean, it says a low priority access drive, and I think everyone here on this council doesn't know what that means.
What I'm getting at is that's the term that you don't want to leave so ambiguous for future councils to interpret it, then make it crystal clear and change it.
define it.
That's what Rod had said earlier. Let's define it. Let's know what this is.
Right.
We're all for that.
Right.
We keep beating this to death. We're all saying the same thing. If you want to change it, get some verbiage together. We can bring it back to another meeting, get it passed, and go through the process of changing the ordinance. 3 readings and we're done.
Could I ask, from an engineering standpoint, are there definitions for these kinds of things, or is it a locally defined thing?
Well, you got city versus county. I think county may have a defined definition of a Class B low maintenance road. Again, the water tower's been there since 1980, and as Billy alluded to, it was designated ag land to the adjoining farmstead to the north, and so back then they parceled off a piece of ground on the backside for the water tower and granted us easement up through there. We maintained it to our needs over that time. Since then, the talk about, heavy trucks or semis or those types of things for tower maintenance, certainly at those times, if we have that type of activity up there, we would take a look at the condition of the road and dress it up if there was concern that that type of traffic deteriorated the condition of the road. But I think a lot of what we're getting into is, for the last 7 years, we've had this ongoing discussion about, every time you get a heavy rain, there's erosion along the road. No one denies that. Well, then whose responsibility is it to fix it after we have a heavy rain? This is not necessarily about an end loader going up there causing concern. This is, you get 3-inch rain, you're going to have erosion going up this hill. Whose responsibility is it to maintain that? Additionally, in the wintertime, we are dealing with having to go up there and clear snow away that has been piled in front of our access to the water tower. So there's been this back and forth for the last 7 years. If there needs to be clarity to the ordinance, as James was indicating, we would certainly like to provide a lot of clarity as to do's and don'ts and who's responsible for this and that.
That would be my proposal. It seems like this is, I think I'm hearing this has been an ongoing issue for quite some time, and obviously it creates frustration on both the part of the city and the flags. And maybe I'm oversimplifying, but it seems like we can either keep having all the parties be frustrated by it, or we can say, we need to clarify this. Is that fair?
Is that the,
You as a council.
is that the
We're not here
consensus
to
of the
debate it.
council as we?
I would say most of us sound like we want that clarified, and I would, sounds like everybody.
Yeah, I
Want that
think,
defined.
my initial thought on this was that we need to have an amendment to this ordinance or a new ordinance that provides much more clarity and much more specificity on who's responsible for what. And I don't think that's the job of the council to draft. I think city staff should do that. I think you've gotten enough direction from the council tonight that they would like to see that, and perhaps be a little bit more generous in this situation than we don't have to do anything, so we're not going to do anything. That doesn't mean a blank check that we're going to, put in a 20-inch thick concrete driveway in there, but I think, some kind of agreement can be reached with the property owners and the city that will make everybody much more comfortable with it. And I would definitely think that the way to proceed on this is to come up with some kind of an ordinance after discussing with the flags what they would like to see and come up with a middle ground. And I think we have enough good people on city staff that would be able to do that.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, flags, for joining us tonight. Move forward to item number 8 is approval of the mayoral appointments. Approve the following mayoral appointments. Tara Harn is reappointed to the Cable Commission for a term ending February 1st of 2026. I apologize for my pronunciation here. Tim Rulapa is replacing John Kurt on the Cable Commission for a term ending February 1st, 2022. Cindy Canny is replacing Crystal Harms on the Economic Development Commission for a term ending July 1st, 2024. Drew Lampy is replacing Deb Schroeder on the Economic Development Commission for a term ending July 1st, 2024. Entertain a motion.
I will move approval of the mayoral appointments.
Second?
Motion by Birgen, second by Beaufore. Council discussion, if any. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Section L is reports from boards and commissions. Item number 1, Library Board of Trustees minutes from April 13th, 2021. Item 2, Library Board of Trustees minutes from May 11th, 2021. Item 3 is the Library Board of Trustees minutes from June 8th, 2021. Item 4 is the Library Board of Trustees minutes from July 13th of 2021. Item 5 is the Historic Preservation Commission minutes of June 28th, 2021. And item 6 is the senior calendar for September 20 of 21. Section M is staff updates. Mr. Browner, I know we got a few.
Yes, sir. Here it is, a brief update tonight.
Yep, thank you. First of all, I just wanted to let everyone know we had the Day of Caring on Friday. I'm sure some of you were involved with it and, or saw projects going on. We had about a dozen volunteers help stain Kids Kingdom. We didn't get it all the way done, but we're looking to do the rest of it sometime on a weekend here in October. So we'll be looking for more volunteers for that, get that taken care of. The volunteers that we had were from CUNA, and then there were a couple others that joined in as well. So special thanks to them for helping us out on the Day of Caring. Cedar River Park, Phase 2 is getting close to wrapping up. We're getting very close there. We're actually seeded on all of the outfields. We're still waiting to seed outside the fences, but that should be done hopefully sometime this week. We've had the irrigation up and going. We have a few issues with that, so that'll be getting taken care of this week as well, and then we'll be able to water everything. Along with Cedar River Park, we did hire a new parks employee. Their primary duties will be the athletic fields, all of our athletic fields, focused on Cedar River Park, of course. That new employee is Greg Westendorf. He joined us 2 weeks ago. So if you see him out and about, be sure to welcome him. And then also, sticking with Cedar River Park, I got news the other day that we have received a $250,000 grant from the Black Hawk Gaming Association that'll be used towards the all-inclusive playground that will go at Cedar River Park. So we're very happy for that, and that should go a long way. So thank you.
Congratulations, Gary.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else?
That's all we have tonight, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, Councilman. I will start down here with Mr. Birgen. Sorry, we'll get to you as we go. Don't kick off that way.
So this past week, Izzy Luck came home. You may remember that Izzy was the child who was struck by a car on 4th Street Southwest and found herself in the intensive care unit of the University of Iowa Hospital. Through hard work and the support of the medical staff, she is back home and on the road to recovery. She still has lots of hard work ahead of her and surely will be living with the after effects of her accident for a long time. After Izzy's accident, the community was spurred into action. The community identified lighted crosswalk indicators as something the city could do to help prevent this kind of accident in the future. As City Council, we heard from many concerned parents and friends, and rightly so. It is important that when we find a course of action that can help protect our children, we take the necessary steps to make our community safer for our children. Also this past week, Charlie Kramer came home. You may remember that Charlie was the child who had a stroke due to COVID-19 and found himself in the intensive care unit of the University of Iowa Hospital. Through hard work and the support of the medical staff, he is back home and on the road to recovery. He still has lots of hard work ahead of him and surely will be living with the after effects of his accident for a long time. We know how to prevent the transmission of COVID-19. If everyone were to wear face masks and get vaccinated, we could decrease the transmission of COVID-19 and prevent what happened to Charlie from happening again in our community. Of course, the City Council does not have the authority to affect what happens in our schools, but I expect the school board has heard from many concerned parents about taking action to increase masking and vaccination in the schools. Just as with the crosswalks, it is important that when we find an action that can help protect our children, we take the necessary steps to make our community safer for our children. And it's not just children. The National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund regularly reports on the number of deaths of police officers in the line of duty. In 2020, the leading cause of death for police officers was COVID-19. Over half of the deaths by police officers in 2020 were due to COVID-19, 182 out of 295 deaths total. The trend is continuing for 2021, with nearly half of all law enforcement officer deaths this year being due to COVID-19. Our police officers are on the front lines when it comes to dealing with the public. They are being exposed to a variety of people every day, and they are risking their lives in doing so. Please support our local police officers by wearing a mask and doing your part to slow the spread of COVID-19. And I want to remind everyone that I will be at the Wooden Foot after our meeting today for anyone who would like to discuss their concerns about the city over a beer.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Beaufort.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
All right, Ms. Meyers.
Just a reminder that the Retail Promotions Committee is gearing up for the fall season of retail promotions throughout Waverly. They will start with fall open houses on, September 25th. That's Saturday in about a week and a half. And then we'll go from that into the holiday season and getting ready for Christmas greetings on Main. So lots of great things going on. in the retail community, and I would encourage you all to get out and enjoy the seasonal decorations and promotions and support your local retailers.
Excellent. Mr. Schneider.
Just want to talk about the budget for just real briefly, because I know it's kind of a going process all the time, and then it kind of comes to council, and it's like, oh, look at this. And when we do that, we usually do that for like the next year, and we kind of put these pieces together. We're like, oh, look at this. And I think it would be really healthy when we do that process this next cycle, that we really look ahead 5 years and put in all the what ifs. So we look at the entire tax implication of what's going on, because we're getting a lot of requests. Hey, I want a bridge here, I want to put a bridge there, well, let's do this, let's do that, we're going to have Memorial Park. I think we need to be realistic about exactly what's going on, especially with COVID and the money situation. And, you know, I think through the winter, we'll have some of that started to figure out. But I think that it's going to be really important that we look at the long-term plan. And I know we're doing some, long-term strategic planning, but, budget-wise, because there's some concerns there that I think that would be healthy if we took a little bit longer structured view of it. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Drenkow.
Well, I just want to congratulate Garrett on that wonderful news on the grant. That's fantastic. That is going to be just a wonderful facility. And being able to put that grant money toward it is just icing on the cake. So congratulations, Garrett.
Thank you, Rod. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Solheim.
Great. Well, I guess today I'm representing myself as a citizen, but just a little bit of an update for the Waverly Health Center, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I noticed when they showed the historic district for Wartburg that it listed Mercy Hospital. So obviously that was before 1975. That is when we became a municipal hospital. We became Waverly Municipal Hospital. 2004, we changed our name to Waverly Health Center. So I guess what I would like to say is thank you to the city. Back in 1975, when the Sisters of Mercy were looking at leaving Waverly, Waverly stepped up. They had a bond that helped purchase the hospital, and for the last, was that 45, 46 years? My math is correct? Somewhere there?
Right there.
We've been a part of the City of Waverly. Just a little bit on the hospital. We have about 60% of our patients are Waverly. The rest of them come from outlying communities. So that means we're bringing in 40% of the more than 55,000 patients we see, and that doesn't include the clinic visits that we have as a hospital. So again, Waverly has been able to help support the community, and then through those services, we're able to support the businesses and other organizations in town. If you drive by the hospital, you've probably noticed we have a little bit of a building project going on. Yeah. So it's been going on for almost 5 years, so it's fun to finally see fruition of some of the things that have been happening. Pending a successful fire marshal inspection in a couple of weeks. We really anticipate opening up our new emergency department before the end of September. This will allow us to provide care and services in a much more convenient and efficient department, and also take care of our patients even better. We've been working in a little bit of a challenged facility for quite a few years, and our emergency department is something that I personally have looked at 3 different building projects for. So it's incredible to see it actually come to fruition. Following the opening of our ED, we will have another, probably about maybe 20,000 square feet that'll open. That'll be a new Christoffel clinic, which is double the size of the current one. As we know, there's a lot of new residents in Waverly, and we continually need to bring in more providers and more services for that. And then also outpatient medical services and administration. We will then have about a 40,000 square foot renovation that will take another year. So all in, we hope to be wrapped up by December 2022 is our goal for right now. And then again, just showing the real strong support Waverly has for itself. We've had over 2.2 million raised by our foundation to support the project. And we just really appreciate being a part of the Waverly community and the support we have from our residents as well as our city council.
Absolutely. Look forward to getting it open.
Yeah, we'll be in touch for the ribbon cutting.
No problem. Perfect.
It's day by day. We'll set the
I hear you.
We know we're ready that way.
Try to put a good word in to the fire marshal. Mr. Kangas?
Just a couple things. One, I wanted to bring up on the flood, or the flooding issue back on the 30th. one, the city doesn't have any control over whether the school would bring the kids in. I'm not sure why they would be busing the kids through water over the road. People are continually told, don't drive through water over the road. So why they thought putting kids on a bus and putting it through, that's the school needs to answer for that. As far as we have discussed raising 7th Avenue as a means of providing access above the floodway there, or above where the flood rises, above what the river, the dam, inflatable dam drops it. So that has provided protection towards a lot of the city, but southeast Waverly lies lower than the rest of the city, and so it has flooding issues. 7th Avenue has been, to me, the most cost-effective, would be the most cost-effective way of dealing with that issue. Mr. Schneider brings up budget issues. James every year has provided us with graphs that show our debt and our ability to access within our 80% funding and what our funding is and how quickly that debt falls off. And so that we have used over numerous years for the long-term planning of, okay, we don't have a lot of room this year, but looking at next year, maybe that's when we do 4th Street, for example, and how we did 4th Street in a couple phases there. Or why we put off 20th Street Northwest for several years to try to get that capacity. When we know that those are falling off, we can replace and have that buffer within our budget. So yeah, it's a great thing to be able to look at every year and have that discussion. What we haven't had in a year or two is just a straight up, we had a number of years ago, we used to have all day budget, strategic planning sessions. I don't know if we want to go all day type thing, but we used to take like a whole day and do it, and Carla can remember that.
She doesn't look happy about it,
that was a lot, but we've spent some time where we look at some main capital improvement plans and what we have coming up, or what are some of the main issues within the city that we have to deal with, whether it be, and just deals with the whole budget issue of where you get your funds from, and road use tax can be used on these things, and hotel motel can be used on these things, and lost can be used on this, and geo bonds can do these sorts of things, and so that's all of that. We've got a great financial guy that kind of keeps us informed of what we're able to do, but I wouldn't mind having that kind of a strategic planning time. I'm not suggesting a whole day thing, but something that maybe is more of a in line prior to our budget sessions to just kind of lay out that long-term idea.
Yep, we usually do that in late October. We did that last year. It was one of the only in-person meetings that you had, and we walked through every program, so we have done that. And then we look out 5 to 7 years on projects, what's possible, what's not, from a capacity standpoint. And then you as council have to prioritize what you want to do and what you want to do at the time. So we certainly can do that.
Anything else?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Just to tag off of that that's how we chopped off a day in the spring, and usually, with potentially like a new council having a full-fledged 2 days makes it work out just as well. So the only comment that I had was I really appreciated everybody through whatever method you use, whether it was putting a flag out in your front yard or telling somebody thank you, paying it forward at the gas station or McDonald's or whatever. Just taking a moment to remember September 11th, the 20th anniversary of that event, and coming together. There's a program at the Veterans Post and breakfast, and wonderful turnout up there for that. So I just appreciate everybody actually not forgetting. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Kangas, second by Schneider. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.